You're listening to the PRO Media Network. The next level in entertainment.
Coma with BQ and the guy. And we have intense, entertaining, educating, and enlightening sport talk from your favorite sports fan. I'm Big Q, and hosting via Skype, as always, is my man DC in the building.
What up?
What's going on, my man? Tonight on podcast 176, episode 176 of the Sports Coma. We got some Saints news we're going to deliver to you guys as well. Lots real popular Saints news, notes, and updates coming right at you. Covering all the latest stuff from the Saints, from the New Orleans Saints. And, of course, we got a great rundown here. We're going to talk about the Saints, a couple of signings that the Saints had done. We're going to recap some of those signings with our thoughts as well. A couple of prospects the Saints are mulling over with the draft a few weeks away. And, of course, we're going to talk about the tendered out to the chicken tender the Saints offered out to Cameron-Meredith, the 6'3" receiver from the Chicago Bears, who led the team last year with 66 receptions. The Saints gave him a chicken tender worth almost $10 million.
Boy, if you watch the highlights on this guy.
Right. So the Saints issued out a chicken tender on him worth almost $10 million for 2 years. And we're gonna talk.
That's a hell of a chicken tender.
That's a hell of a tender, man. That's beyond Popeye's chicken tender. Also, we got some other
Copeland chicken tenders. Huh?
Copeland's chicken tenders. You better cut it out, bro. I'm getting hungry up in there. But anyway, and also we're gonna talk about some news dealing with, like I said, the prospects. The Saints looking at quarterback sensation Lamar-Jackson. To me, I think Lamar-Jackson is the best quarterback in this draft. I don't understand why the guy from Wyoming is
man, we was going back and forth on that guy, man. What changed your mind?
I never said he wasn't. I said that they don't see him as a first round draft pick quarterback.
Okay.
You know, that was my point. I've always been a Lamar Jackson fan, and now, like I told you, I'm just not on his promotion team.
You're not as crazy as I thought you was. All right.
Okay, so we're gonna talk about the draft. We also gonna, go into that the draft situation. Of course, one of our popular video reports that we put out there was about Derrius Guice. Should the Saints draft Derrius Guice? I'm gonna say the question again because I don't think a lot of our people heard me the first time. DC. Should the Saints draft Derrius Guice in the first round with first round pick 27th if he is there? I love the fact that we got
a if you're gonna trademark him.
Yes, if you're gonna trademark Ingram. And a couple of people echoed your sentiment. A few people did mine. A lot of people.
I don't think nobody agree with you, bro.
Cut it out. I had people that agree with me. I appreciate them, man. I appreciate y'all for comment, man. But listen,
nobody agreed to have Derrius Guice be the third running back on the 380.
Well, let me clarify. And some people said we shouldn't even talk about it because it's not going to happen.
You see what happened when we tried to do that with AP, right?
Well, I mean, if to be fair with you, they could have actually did it if Sean was committed to it, being that he did a three-head monster approach a couple of times before and it actually worked. So, hey, we're going to talk about
Alvin Kamara as we.
Well, I mean, we're going to get into that.
When that happened, that unleashed him.
We're going to get
it worked out for everybody.
We're going to get into it.
We're gonna AP in the long run.
We're going to get into it. Let's save some of that ammunition for it. We're going to get into it a little later. Also, we're going to talk about toward the back end of the podcast a little boxing news. Of course, we at the Sport Coma. Not only do we love basketball, football, but we definitely love some boxing, especially heavyweight championship boxing. and we're going to talk about two of the best heavyweight champions on the planet, Deontay Wilder, U.S. Bomb Squad champion Deontay Wilder versus the UK champion AJ Anthony Joshua, 4 belts. Deontay 1 belt. Deontay wants to take all the belts from Joshua, and we'll give you some information on that fight and let you know it could be a little closer than you thought, than you're thinking. But anyway, that's the end of the breakdown, the rundown, whatever you want to call it. Let's get into some of these topics. We're going to start, DC, with Zach Line. The signing of the Saints signed a couple of guys, familiars, back to the team, which has been pretty good. The Saints have really been doing a pretty decent job of trying to bring some of their core people back. And Zach Line was a guy that gave him a 2-year deal. Now he's back with the Saints at the fullback position. He did a pretty good job after our regular fullback went down. Kuhn went down, and Zach Line came in from Minnesota and blocked for AP a little bit in there, but that was his fullback. But he's sticking around in New Orleans. He signs a 2-year deal. And, of course, Sports Coma favorite Mike-Maulti, the special teams ace, had some medical issues last year, came back and played. And he is back for 1 year with New Orleans. So we get our special team ace Mike-Maulti back for a year, homegrown, and then Zach Line for 2 more years with the deal. DC, quick thoughts on those guys.
I think it's an amazing thing, man. Zach Line was here, and he did a pretty decent job. Enough where we got rid of Kuhn, basically, for him. And we don't run a lot of fullback sets, but when he did come in, he scored a few touchdowns. He made key blocks. I think it's a good guy to bring back. And Mike-Maulti, what more can I say, man? Amazing story. This guy's been battled so much, and for him to get another opportunity to be that guy on special teams that we need, that can deliver the passion and enthusiasm and make some plays out there, man. He's a fighter, and you would love to have that type of guy on your team. I don't think anybody wouldn't want a Mike-Maulti.
Excellent. Yeah, that's true. And like I said, he is a Sports Coma favorite. Big shout out to Mike-Maulti and the fam. Welcome back for another year, man. Back to being a Saint. Wouldn't have it any other way. And then let's move on to some next news. Now, we're talking about some other possible signings as well. The Saints, one of the more one of the more fascinating signings. The Saints took their time. They issued out a chicken tender, a cheap chicken tender, a Church's chicken tender on wide receiver Willie Snead, but then offered the Copeland's chicken tender out to Cameron-Meredith from Chicago. Now, of course, the Bears had 5 days to match the offer. Tomorrow, which would be Tuesday? Tuesday would be his final day. Well, Chicago can match it. Don't appears to me that Chicago's looking to match that offer. I mean, they signed John Jenkins back, our old defensive tackle, our lazy defensive tackle. They signed him back. They signed another wide receiver back. So I'm saying, why, if you really wanted Cameron-Meredith, and they have the money to sign him, they probably would have signed him already. All indications is showing, unless it's a last-second thing, that the Cameron-Meredith will be a Saints. What you thinking about that?
I think this is wonderful, man. This frees up a lot of flexibility for the draft, and it also answers that question of who is dru-brees going to throw to with the absence of Willie Snead and Brandon Coleman behind Michael Thomas and Ted Ginn. So you have a guy, Meredith, who can be in the number 2. He's big enough to be out there and running plays, and he can block. He's excellent at screen passes. He can also stretch the field. He can come in the slot, do a little bit of what Ted Ginn does. So it's an excellent pickup from a guy that's relatively unknown, unless you're talking about people who seriously follow football around the league. 25 years old, very young, only had 2 seasons in the league, but only in downfall. He's coming off an ACL tear from almost a year and a half ago. So hopefully now he should be more than healed. He sat out the whole year last year. So we could possibly be getting a steal at $10 million. Sounds kind of crazy for a second or third receiver. That's a steal. But yeah, this guy could be, man. He has the potential to potentially get 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns like Brandon Cooks did.
Right. It's a fascinating move, no doubt about it. But if you look at it, the Saints took their diligent time looking at wide receivers out there in the free agent market, and they keyed in on this kid. And, of course, they didn't chicken tender anything to Brandon Coleman, they said, you know what, hasta la vista to you, sir. Willie Snead, they gave him the lowest possible tender with no compensation just in case they didn't find anybody. And then now they issued the 2-year, almost, it's 9.6 according to what I'm seeing here on Sport Track, but they say I guess they average it off at 10. We could say 10. To this guy, he's like you said, he got
but
pretty
it's
good speed.
$5.4 million in incentives though, so
right,
it's really not as much money unless he has a pretty great year.
But in any capacity, if he was to go back to Chicago, you're looking at him starting because Tyler Gabriel would obviously be the little slot guy. He could possibly be a starter there for him if he goes back. Now, of course, you bring him back here, he fits in as the third receiver, or they might, certain packages they'll move Ted Ginn into the inside position on certain tracks. But a big wide receiver, 6'3", has good speed, is accomplished. The only issue is, like you said, that injury. Is he over that injury is the question. But I like this move. I actually do like this move. I think it's a pretty good move. The guy is a young wide receiver. And, hey, man, big kudos to the Saints. Now, we have one more day to decide on. The Chicago decide on whether or not they're going to keep the man. But it's late in the game, and I've seen situations where they have waited late to get a guy, so we'll just see it. But by all indications, they look like they're not going to match his chicken tender. It might be too high, too high fat chicken.
It's the money. They got a lot of money tied up in their receiving already.
They do.
And to me, it doesn't make sense to tie up potentially another $10 million into a receiving core that you probably already have about $50 million or so tied up into. They signed a tight end, Burton. They signed Allen Robinson, and they also signed Tyler Gabriel. All of those guys, everybody
big
won.
Contracts, right?
So you're not talking about no-name guys that you could be hitting big on. These are all top-tier guys in free agency that command money. So
all right.
Add Meredith, and you pretty much have a replacement for him in Tyler Gabriel. You already have a few other guys that are still on their roster that Trubisky.
Right. Well, I get it, DC.
We're
gonna let them have their damn team. We're gonna keep the Saints though. But moving on, we got the next talk is we're gonna talk about the Saints. They brought in another offensive tackle, Austin Howard, for a visit. If nothing got done, the Saints just brought him in, took a look at him, and remember he signed with Baltimore last year. And they declined his option, and to save some cap space, released him. And he's been floating around. The Saints hosted him. The Ravens, the Raiders looked at him. And today, I think he was with the Colts. So it's interesting that the fact that the Saints actually looked at another offensive lineman out, getting bushride. So obviously, they kind of peeking, trying to show you that we're trying to still girth up that offensive line and fill in the best way we can. Quick thoughts on Austin Howard visiting. Quick thoughts.
Minnesota game. Tyron Armstead we thought he was out of the game. We lost Andrews Pete. So the Saints are pretty much setting themselves up to not be, depleted. If the inevitable happens again, we need to at least have some competent guys while we continue to go on. We probably won't be better, but we'll be at least able to compete at a high level.
Okay, the next topic of discussion is the Saints looking at, of course, prospects, NFL draft picks. They're looking at Lamar-Jackson, a quarterback from the Louisville Cardinals. Lamar-Jackson, very interesting player. The Saints are taking a look at him.
Somebody's been saying that.
I mean, a lot of people saying that, that the Saints, and it was Sean Payton was quoted saying that he likes him. That he likes him a lot, that the guy, he's special and he's a leader and he commands a lot of attention and all this kind of stuff. So,
a lot of people have been saying it, but I've been saying it since last year. I was on record.
Say that one more time, DC.
I say a lot of people have been saying it. I've been saying it since last year. I'm on record saying that we should tank for Lamar.
You did say that, and I'm not going to take that away from you. You did say we should tank for Lamar. You did say that. Out of all your many calls, that one is one I can actually say that you did. So kudos for you on that. Okay, we're about to go into our first break. When we come back on the other side of the break, we'll finish up on some of our topics about dru-brees losing his family jewels. That's kind of funny how they worded that. And also, we're going to talk about other draft news, too, who the Saints looking at. We're going to talk about boxing news, and we're going to get more into some of the Derrius Guice commentary on the side of the break. Stay with us. What's up, sports world? This Big Q from the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys. Talking to you about the website, theposhlifestyle.com. That's right, poshlifestyle.com. A great website where you can get great products at great prices. They sell organic herbs, vitamins, supplements, water filters for your home, EMF and cell phone radiation protection, healing magnetics and healing crystals, personal protection devices like cell phones, stun guns, and mace spray, organic deodorants, shampoos, soaps, toothpaste, and more. They also sell 10A grade Brazilian hair. 10A music is available now. All kind of the latest downloadable mixtapes. So what are you waiting for? Head on over to theposhlifestyle.com. That's the Posh Lifestyle, life spelled with a Y, LYFE, style.com. Put in the Sports Coma for the 10% discount on your purchase. It's a win-win. So get your mind and body right with the Posh Lifestyle.
Get all the latest news and updates from your New Orleans Pelicans at the Pelicans Eye View, the new and official Pelicans Daily Journal, covering everything Pelicans.
Attention, everyone.
Get breakdown on games, free agent signings and potential moves, unbiased opinions and straight up facts with statistical analysis from G Valley. Go to www.thesportsdaily.com/Pelicans-I-View.
Wow, what a huge honor it is to be named NBA 2K18 Legend Edition cover athlete. I really wouldn't be here without the guidance, love, and support of my mom and dad. Also, I'd like to thank my coaches, both college and professional. But most of all, I'd like to thank Kobe Bryant. He was the NBA 2K Legend cover athlete first. He's so awesome and handsome and has really nice natural teeth. Wait, what? I'll be looking at his teeth. This ain't over, Kobe. Payback's gonna be fun.
Let me tell you about a news site that carries the news that you would want to know. News that's not the same as the rest of lamestream media, but a site that lets you know about the most important news on health, economics, tech, entertainment, science, food, sports, world news, positive living, paradigm shift, and a lot more. Go to theposhreportonline.co. That's right, theposhreportonline.co. Learn more. And remember, challenge everything.
Follow the Sports Coma on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube.
You're listening to the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys on the PRO Media Network.
Welcome back to the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guy, and we talk Saints this round. First segment, of course, we covered a lot. Second segment, we'll get into more of it. Dru-brees, family jewels. Man, one of the San Diego jeweler scammed poor Drew. Wife out of $9 million. Just, that he said that he was overcharged for paying for diamonds. And it's a whole little situation going on there. And Dru-brees said that he allocated funds to a class action, let's see, an asset class of investment grade diamonds, and was told that he would use his connections and expertise to acquire them on behalf or at below market value, the statements say. Speaking about the wife, in an effort to diversify our investment portfolio, we trusted Moratti and invested. Moratti, is the jeweler, assured us he was being compensated by the jewelers for any investment grade diamonds he acquired on his behalf. Of course, this goes on and beyond, and you can follow it yourself, that the experts said that Drew paid $9 million more for the diamonds than they were actually worth, according to the lawsuit. And the expert said that the $8.2 million ring was actually worth $3.6. So, damn, Dru-brees is a rich player, making $20+ million for the Saints this year, last year. So I guess that's chicken feed for him. But at any pocketbook, I guess it hurt unless your last name isn't Bezos. But it says that, and then to stick it to him, The lawyer for the jeweler says Mr. Brees should restrict his game plan to the football field and refrain from bullying honest, hardworking businessmen like my client. Yes, indeed, allegedly stole it, but obviously this is an interesting thing. I just needed to talk about it. It hit you with it being that I guess it's Saints related news and the smallest. Anyway, let's get back to actual football news. We was talking about Lamar-Jackson before the break and the fact that Saints are interested in looking at Mr. Lamar-Jackson. Well, that's interesting unless they're going to move up to get him, because like me and DC agreed to, I don't think he's going to be there at 27th. We got an interesting topic we're going to talk about too, pertaining to Lamar Jackson and how in the heck all these other guys are going ahead and what his statistics are clearly better than some of these guys. What is the underlying thing here? Is in my account, I think Lamar Jackson is the best quarterback in this draft. I mean, he can throw it. He's accurate. He can make passes on the run. He's quicker than most of your wide receivers. The guy is talented. So we'll cover that as well later on in the show. Looking at the Lamar Jackson thing overall, his thing, DC, of course, the Saints looking at him. They're also looking at wide receiver courtland-sutton from SMU. So the Saints kind of giving us like a hint here at what we possibly could be looking at, what could we possibly be doing here. Very interesting to see how exactly the Saints are operating. Very interesting to say the least. You take a look at some of the things New Orleans is doing, man. I mean, it's absolutely excellent. Most of the guys they've already signed back to fill key holes in situations that occurred. Interesting, very interesting. The tight end position was something we was all looking at. Then you look at it, you say, well, this tight end, could it be a pick for the Saints could reach in the first round, the second round, the third round, excuse me, they don't have a 2. And talk about getting a tight end. A lot of the people are listeners too, man, to be quite honest with you. They kind of, that's like, well, we need another edge rusher. We need another guy. I don't know if there'll be a guy ready for you at 27th, the edge rusher. That might be high on the board. Something tell me it's going to be one of those funny drafts where you're going to get a different type of player than what you're looking to. But what I'm saying is the Saints set themselves up to take anybody on the board that falls to them. That's how and they really did, knowing that right. how it all ran out. They re-signed the depth. They got a tight end in Benjamin Watson, solidified the tight end position at least for another year.
Ray Johnson and Okafor.
Right, they got Okafor back. They got George Johnson back. They still got. A lot of people seem to forget sometimes how many damn defensive ends we have. We have a lot of defensive ends. You have a lot of George Johnson, Emeka Okafor, Kikaha is there. Trey Hendrickson is there. Muhammad is there. All these are all this like right. All these guys are here. So we tend to forget that. Well, forget that. Just take another one.
They can't play both sides though. You have to think about that.
That's true. That's true. But you don't give Okafor a nice little cheap contract to come in and play the other end. He looked terrific there when he was healthy. The issue is the Saints have basically loaded that position up. And they got a linebacker. We talk about that. How about Demario Davis? You plug him that way, A.J. Klein and Alex Anzalone and the rest of those guys. So, we need you to take a linebacker. No, the Saints have set themselves up to take
improve the whole linebacking core, just the addition of him.
Right.
By taking other responsibilities and obligations off of other people.
And the thing about it is, I guess they seen it as, they must certainly seen it as, we're going to get Demario Davis here. Once we get Demario Davis here, that gives us ability to have a veteran we can rely on to make plays for the defense as opposed to a young guy. We're going to get this sturdy veteran who's still in the prime of his career, who's fast, who's tough, who's smart, and most importantly, he's available. Because he has not missed games. He is there, and I think the Saints is paying for that availability, is the fact that he is there. He plays every game. So that's an interesting thing. Another thing we're going to talk about, too, is the fact that we had this video report, or we did a segment on the previous Sports Coma about Derrius Guice falling to you. Got a lot of a lot of sponsor, a lot of whatever you want to call it, feedback. That's a better word. Feedback from the listening public out there, all the guys out there listening. Thank y'all guys. Thank all of you guys for chiming in. And I'm going to ask you to chime in again, even in some of the guys that's waiting to chime in that hadn't chimed in before, to chime in again on the subject. So we're going to touch on it right quick. Of course, when we spoke about the Derrius Guice situation, we have to take into account the fact that there are some very important factors that's underlined with that decision to make the decision. We're not just saying just take and just load up your field with first round draft picks or high pick running backs.
Whoa.
Right.
That's how it sounds.
Well, what's going on is what I'm saying is you look at the availability, like we spoke about with Demario Davis. He doesn't miss football games. This is really the first year that Mark Ingram, last year, of course, was the first year Mark Ingram played the entire season. Prior to that, he missed chunks of games. He wasn't there for them. This year he was. Right. He
looked completely out of it when he was missing, too. I mean, Ingram was a very important part of the team when he was missing a lot of them games. And you can see some of the games we lost because we didn't have him
in there. Absolutely. So what I'm saying,
a similar thing going on last year with Alvin Kamara. The 2 games he missed, I think we lost both of those games.
So that's the issue. What we talking about? Alvin Kamara missed games last year.
He only missed one. He missed one game. One game he missed.
When Alvin Kamara missed the game last year. And the point is, those guys play together. Sean Payton plays those guys together. So they are not running back 1 and running back 2. Those guys are starters together. They're in the game at the same time. And merely what I was saying about that is 2, maybe 3 if you add his age, contract, age, and availability. Is something you betting on as he getting up into that 30 range. Now he hits his birthday right toward the end of this year, right toward when the season ends, if this upcoming season ends. He hits his birthday. You're going to really pay that much for a 30-year-old back. Now this is all speculative if Guice is there. That's all I'm saying. Is if Guice is there, do you overlook the fact that he only had 1 year left? And then some people told me, I hear you out there. You said, well, Q will sign him back cheaper. Get him to a cheap deal. You don't know what he's gonna take. If he can find a better deal somewhere else, and somebody say, "Listen, Mark, you don't have to share the backfield with anybody. We'll bring you in here." You don't know how it's gonna turn out.
So you sound like you leading to my side of the argument, which I said we should get him if he's there, but you trade Mark Ingram.
No, I didn't say nothing about trading him. No, I'm not on your side.
Why would he sign back? Why would he sign?
No, listen. I'm not on your side of the argument about trading him. All I'm saying is the fact that you have to. I don't want to trade Mark Ingram. I don't want to trade Mark Ingram. I don't want to trade him.
You're not going.
They all walk. That's why it's a purpose. You got to hold on.
Especially if Derrius Guice, we thought he is.
All I'm saying is that if Derrius Guice is there at 27, Derrius Guice, if he is on the board at 27 when the Saints pick, he is going to be the highest player on your board. You can't tell me that right now the Saints don't have Derrius Guice on the goddamn board.
What if Lamar-Jackson is there too?
Then I'm taking Lamar-Jackson. If that's a different question. If Lamar-Jackson is there at 27, then I take Lamar-Jackson. He said, "Well, hold on, Q. What's the difference?" The difference is you have the quarterback is the leader of the team. So I would need to replace him, and I got Drew on a 1-year deal. I might have to reset this team in a year. So if
technically it's a 2-year deal, but
it's technically a 2-year deal, but it breaks down to a 1-year deal, but the second year is voided out. So if I'm not mistaken, I have to research that, but I remember reading it saying that second year, I think it voids itself out. But outside of that, even though you still have Drew for 1 more year, if he's there, you take him. Bottom line. But that's what I was saying about the Derrius Guice situation. Of course, you guys can chime in and tell me with that bit of information, do you change your opinion or do you stay the same? Let us know what time it is on it.
Most people probably will stay the same because you have a very emotional, sentimental aspect to Ingram and Alvin Kamara connection. I mean, Alvin Kamara seems to really like Mark Ingram and vice versa. They play good together. And I'm not necessarily someone who would be happy about breaking that up, but you got to do what's best for your team. And I don't think a lot of people think that, hey, Mark Ingram's been in the league 8 years. He's only been healthy 1 year. Got 1 year left on the contract.
This is a business, people. This is a business.
You pretty much show up your running.
This is a business.
For very, very, very reasonable amount of money for the next 4 years. And then after the 4th year, you only have to sign Alvin Kamara to probably a big deal at that point.
This is a business, people. Y'all got to understand that this is a business, a football business. I understand, like you said, that sentimental attachment, but this is football. If they can find a cheaper back that can make the offense go better than Mark, they're going to do it. They're going to pull the trigger. Anyway, stick with us. We'll be back on the other side of the break. Talk more football and boxing on the Sports Coma. Stay with us.
Forget ESPN or Fox.
Get straight sports talk from the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys.
In today's world, children are bombarded with negativity on television, online, and at school. Our kids need to have a positive outlook on life and the world around them. I want to share with you a valuable resource you can use to bring positivity into your child's life. It's the new book, 101 Powerful Children Affirmations, a guide to positive child self-image, from author and dad, G.J. Barabino. This is a simple guide loaded with wonderful and inspirational affirmations designed to uplift young people's spirits. This positive and powerful children affirmational is chock full and loaded with wonderful inspirational sayings that will lift your child's self-image to whole new levels through the awesome power of spoken word. 101 Powerful Children Affirmations, a guide to positive child self-image, from author and dad G.J. Barabino. Available on Amazon. Order a copy for yourself, your child's teachers, or anyone you know with children. 101 Powerful Children Affirmations, a guide to positive child self-image. Order your copy today.
Thank you for listening to the Pro Media Network, who provides hours and hours of free entertainment to you and yours. If you are benefiting positively from our content, please donate to help us grow our platform by going to www.patreon.com/the Pro Media Network. That's www.patreon.com/the Pro Media Network, and support the true independent artists.
Check out the Crown They Ass World podcast with three kings covering all the news and issues that affect you and the ones you care about. Only on the PRO Media Network.
Hello, New Orleans. You're listening to The Sports Coma, your new #1 podcast on everything Saints, Pelicans, and a lot more. And now, here's your host, Big Q and the guys.
Welcome back to the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys. And we still talking football, man. We're covering the Saints draft. We covered signings. We covered tenders. We covered everything. Damn near everything except our boxing news we got coming up, and a few other topics dealing with the Saints. Of course, we told you about Lamar-Jackson, the Saints looking at them. And Courtland-Sutton, the wide receiver from SMU. Some people say he's a first-round grade person, wide receiver. Some people believe not. But the Saints taking a look at Sutherland, perhaps in a draft. Of course, you know, a quick disclaimer on this fact that the Saints take a look at a lot of guys don't necessarily mean they're going to draft them. So we just kind of maul that around in the back of our brains while the Saints kind of pick and prod around about these guys. Now, moving ahead, DC, we want to talk about an interesting topic dealing with Lamar-Jackson. Of course, this was something that we spoke about, and I know you wanted to speak upon it too, is the fact that Lamar-Jackson, you a fan of Lamar-Jackson. I think you the captain of his fan club, and I think he gives you money for your power bill because you've been advocating for him to be the first overall draft pick. Now, we look at a lot of stuff that goes on dealing with in the football. Now, they have a couple of quarterbacks that's listed ahead of Lamar Jackson in the draft. Now, you have guys like you got the guy. You got a few of these guys, man, that you got listed that's ahead of him. You got Sam Darnold. You got the guy out of Wyoming. You got Baker Mayfield. Why is Sam Darnold
listed ahead of Lamar Jackson? Nobody can really explain that to me.
Well, I mean, that's what I'm giving you an opportunity right now to kind of speak about that and tell us your point of view, because I know you had an interesting point of view about the quarterback situation. And I know, and this is interesting to me, because if you look at a lot of statistics in the overall play of some of these other quarterbacks, and you could say, well, Darnold played at USC, he had in a big school program. Baker Mayfield is a pretty good quarterback, no matter how you slice it. A little guy that can move around and win games like he's doing. The worst thing they could say, the reason why he's dropping this is because he's cocky. I mean, that's the stupidest thing in the world. He's arrogant because he as long as he ain't doing stupid crap like doing the money sign and all this foolishness like that other buffoon did. I mean, I'm not worried about him. The man is a winner. He hasn't done anything
Right.
outside of just talk his mess, and he's confident. You know, you don't have to be a damn choir boy to be the quarterback. So, I mean, come on with that crap. But they've been...
Wouldn't you want your quarterback to be confident? Don't we always...
Not some
talk
of these
about
milquetoast people,
having
I
that
guess they don't
dog
want him to be
mentality?
confident.
Somebody who's an alpha male, able to lead men and actually, be a bit of a pioneer.
No, we don't
Lamar
want that.
Jackson has all those qualities to me.
Well, speak on it. I'm gonna give you the mic right now. Talk about your order. You have an order of quarterbacks that you want to talk about. What is your QB order? And then tell us why you made that order the way it is.
Lamar Jackson will be number one, basically because he's the most experienced out of all of them. He's the one with the most, pretty much yards, most touchdowns, the most potential out of all the quarterbacks. Baker Mayfield will be number two. Similar thing with Lamar Jackson. Those two guys both have the it factor to me. But Baker Mayfield and Lamar Jackson, I guess people consider them to both have disadvantages. One has these supposed accuracy issues. I don't know. When I watched, Lamar Jackson seems to pass, I guess, adjusted the ball. Baker Mayfield is too short, so we know with the whole Dru-brees thing. Then I would say Josh Allen next, clearly because of his tape and his size. Then you can look at Rosen. Then I would say Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold's basically just there because of his build. A lot of turnovers. He has a Brett Favre type mentality. He could be a really good quarterback, but I haven't seen anything on tape that sets him apart for him to be number one.
Okay, so you said Lamar Jackson. You got Lamar Jackson first. Lamar Jackson at the top.
Yeah, 9,000 something yards, almost 10,000 yards passing, 115 total touchdowns. Probably 3,000 yard rushing seasons. Come on, man.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
And a Heisman.
And a Heisman, and a run up to the
Beat
the
teams
Heisman.
like Florida State, and he's playing for Louisville. Who else is on that team? They had some players, but Louisville isn't like this big college football program.
Okay. Well, I mean, a lot of people said, I think one of the mock drafter guys came out and said Sam Darnold is the top quarterback in this draft, the guy out of USC. Now, Sam Darnold, 3 years at USC, I have his stats here, 7,200 yards, 7,229 to be exactly. He had 57 touchdowns versus 22 interceptions in the 3 years that he was there. And he didn't play as a freshman. He played 13 games. He did play some as a freshman here. I guess they redshirted him that first year. But his freshman year, he wasn't. He threw for 31 touchdowns and 9 picks that year for a 161.1 rating. And then the next year, his numbers kind of went. Touchdowns went down. Interceptions went up from 9 to 13. His touchdowns went from 31 to 26, and he averaged like 148. Had a 148.1 rate. But if you look at him totally, 72-29 on the yards, 57 touchdowns versus 22 interceptions. And to me, when I look at his sophomore year, he looked better. In his freshman year, statistics say he had a better freshman year. So by any indications, he took a step back in his sophomore year, but yet he's considered the top man in the deal in the draft by some people. What you think about that?
I think you hit it dead home, man. This dude, to me, it's very impressive numbers, but it just doesn't compare. Like, to make him the number one pick, in my opinion. Again, it's a lot of upside with these guys, but when I put the tape on, it's only really two guys that stand out to me.
So
that just jump off the screen. That's Lamar Jackson and Baker Mayfield.
Now, Rosen, you look at Josh Rosen, 3 years at UCLA, 9,340 yards, 59 touchdowns, 26 interceptions in his seasons with UCLA. And he played as a freshman. He played 13 games as a freshman, 6 as a sophomore, and in his junior year he played only 11. But he had a better year as a junior when he threw for 3,700 yards and 26 touchdowns. As a freshman, he threw for 3,669 and 23 touchdowns as a freshman. So pretty solid year, but still Josh Rosen is slated higher than Lamar-Jackson in those situations. So, that's kind of strange to me. But
and Lamar-Jackson has double the output. Like, this guy had a 55 touchdown year. It's insane, man. These guys put up 26 touchdowns, half of what he did. And everybody's trying to convince me that they're better.
Well, they always talk about the intangibles.
Like, who are you gonna believe, me or your lying eyes? Like,
we're gonna believe you.
It's a racial dynamic tied to this, by him being a black quarterback, actually with the stigma of running. That's not really highly looked upon, and people were starting to adapt to it. But after you've seen Kaepernick, and you've seen the opposite of that in RG3 with the injuries, so you have a lot of people talking negatively towards that. But Lamar Jackson can stand in the pocket and pass the ball. He can do that too. So it's just perplexing, man. It's kind of sad.
Yeah, and I'm looking at Josh Allen's number. When you break them down statistically, I'm looking at Josh Allen's numbers. In his career numbers, he played 3 years at Wyoming, lesser competition, but he finished with 44 touchdowns versus 21 interceptions on 5,066 total yards, averaging 7.8 yards a passing attempt. In his last year there, his junior year, he played 11 games. He had 1,800 yards. And he threw for 16 touchdowns and only 6 interceptions in 11 games. And they have this guy saying, hey, man, this guy is the real deal. Only one really good year was the 2016 year. In his sophomore year, he played 14 games. He threw 3,200 yards, and he had 28 touchdowns versus 15 interceptions. So some guys got Josh Allen sitting at the top of the draft over Lamar Jackson. You put the numbers next to each other, don't correlate, but then they speak the intangible thing.
Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz's success has catapulted him somehow.
Well, I look at it like this.
Same type of quarterback, kind of mobile, a little bit, makes these deep throws, and he played AAA, then basically didn't play anybody.
You put the numbers next to, now Baker Mayfield has tremendous numbers, so but he is, even when he won the Heisman, he still is not considered the top quarterback out of those other big guys, because it's always this dynamic to get the big guy with the big arm, and it's a foolish strategy. You take a really good quarterback. That's how Russell Wilson slid so far. That's how Dru-brees got on down into the second round. Yeah. Right. So, I mean, we got to stop this stupid dynamic. If the guy could play football, the guy could play football, man. And I'm telling you, if you take Josh Allen over Lamar Jackson, you are making a serious mistake, and you're going to pay for it on the other side of it. I promise you that. But anyway, let's move on.
They will tell you, a lot of people say that about Carson Wentz. The guy that they took in
Carson
with
Wentz
the Los Angeles Rams is supposed to be better than Carson Wentz. I actually watched Carson Wentz tape, and I said, man, he's better than Goff. And boy, was I right about that.
Well, you look at the system, too. He wouldn't help to have all those
led his
weapons,
team
man.
to a Super Bowl. So people are going to constantly argue that, but based on the statistics, the only quarterback that I think should be placed number one in this, if you want to pull teeth, would be Baker Mayfield. He's the only other quarterback with a Heisman and that has stats that's even remotely comparable. And he's done it at a high level for about the same amount of time.
All right, well, we'll be going into our next break. When we come back, we're going to talk about nothing but boxing. We kind of ran out of time for that break. We'll hit it on the other side of the break and finish up on the show. We'll talk about Joshua versus Wilder, as the WBO stepped in there and told Joshua, you have a mandatory defense that you have to take. You have to fight Povetkin. And if you don't, there's going to be an issue. So you got 30 days to make it happen. Well, guess what? Mandatories do not trump unification. So in 30 days, you might see something solid happen here because of the pressure to fight the Russian fighter. So We'll talk more about that. Plus, we'll leave some Triple G news. Also, Terrance Crawford, one of our favorite young boxers. He has a fight against Horn coming up, and we're going to talk about that too on the other side of the break. You're listening to the Sports Coma. Big Q and the guys, stay with us.
I'm a Saints and Pelicans fan, so the only podcast I can get my fix is the Sports Coma with Big Q. The guy's intense, funny, and they always keep it real.
Check out the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys.
Clear, clean, great-tasting filtered water. We're all thirsty for it. But in the U.S. alone, an estimated 2.5 million plastic bottles are added to the environment each year in search of the perfect drink of water. There has to be a better solution, and there is. Crystal Quest, a leader in the manufacturing of water filtration technology, has been providing clean, drinkable water for 20 years. Crystal Quest has been recognized by such leaders as Consumers Digest, Dr. Oz, and Colin Ingram's The Water Drinking Book, offering our customers the cleanest and most environmental-friendly drinking water at a rating of high purity. With Crystal Quest's water filtration technology, you can rest assured that your water will be crystal clear. Contact our network of authorized distributors and join our thousands of satisfied customers.
Just log into theposhlifestyle.com. Once again, that is theposhlifestyle.com.
Get all the latest news and updates from your New Orleans Pelicans at the Pelicans Argue. The new and official Pelicans Daily Journal, covering everything Pelicans. Attention, everyone. Get breakdown on games, free agent signings, and potential moves. Unbiased opinions and straight up facts with statistical analysis from G Valley. Go to www.thesportsdaily.com/Pelicans-I-View.
Follow the Sports Coma on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube.
You're listening to the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys. Best funky sports podcast in the country.
Welcome back to the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guy. And we talking boxing, man. Boxing this segment. That's right, boxing, man. Boxing. Not just any kind of boxing. Championship boxing. 2 heavyweight champions boxing. We talking about Deontay-Wilder versus Anthony Joshua type boxing. That's what we talking about, man. Listen. I know what I said on the previous podcast about it not happening too soon, but we didn't account for the fact that someone would actually say that you have a mandatory that you have to fight this guy before you fight for unification. That's crazy. Even Mike Tyson said that. That's what the hell? What's going on? Mandatories do not trump unification. Unification is number one. If it's a unification bout on the line, the mandatory has to wait. That's how it's always been. But all of a sudden, I don't know. The WBO told Anthony Joshua that he has to, on Monday, told him, listen, you're going to have to fight Alexander Plotkin. And, hey, listen, if you remember from one of the previous podcasts when we did our last boxing show, I told you it was 2 people that Hearn don't want to put Anthony Joshua up against. One is Deontay-Wilder, and the second one was that Russian dude, Alexander Plotkin. Now, if you watched the AJ and Parker fight, there was 2 things. You were terribly disappointed, and number 2, you seen an excellent fight on the undercard between 2 heavyweights as Alexander Plotkin flattened that guy, just destroyed David Price, just brutalized him. And I just think that, if you AJ, you don't want to see that guy right now. And then he don't have any belts and you just going to be fighting him with your belts on the line. I would have, if I'm Hearn, I'm saying, listen, let's just make the fight with Deontay-Wilder as soon as possible. From the pressure show, we got to thank the Russian Alexander Plotkin for putting pressure on David Hearn, who wants to just milk as much fights and fight everybody around Deontay Wilder. We got to thank the WBO for putting pressure on them unintentionally to make this fight happen, DC. Because I know a lot of people always say there's no other fight that nobody wants to see but Deontay Wilder and Joshua. Don't try to make the guy jump you in the goddamn hoops. Just get you, if you want him to fight over in Britain or wherever you want to fight, London. Guess what? His gloves travel. He ain't scared to go over there and box you over there. So I mean, hopefully they can get this done soon.
I don't think Anthony Joshua wants it as bad. I think he wants to fight Wilder, but it's obvious that his camp is deterring them from it, and they're trying to take the Floyd Mayweather route, I guess, and fight the easiest fight. It's perplexing, and I'm kind of glad that they wanted to make him fight. I just wish it would have been a mandatory fight of Deontay Wilder, which I guess ultimately it can be, because if he takes that fight, then he won't have to fight. How you pronounce the guy's name? I always mess it up.
Alexander Plotkin.
The Russian guy.
Plotkin.
Gopkin. I'm probably still say it wrong.
Close enough.
But yeah, he's a tough little fighter, man. That'd be an interesting fight either way. You got two guys that are kind of like brawlers in Deontay Wilder or Vopkin, and they would make a good fight with a guy like Anthony Joshua, who's kind of like a counterpuncher for the most part. I mean, he can do other stuff, but for the most part, he's a counterpuncher. So it'll be a very interesting fight. And it's funny that they're forcing him to do that, because we know his camp was probably going to try to avoid both of these guys.
They didn't want no part of that, man. Didn't want no part of that guy. I promise you that. They didn't want any part of that Alexander Plotkin, no doubt about it. But let's go to the report, and it's being reported here by BoxingScene.com.
But it's embarrassing, though, that he showed him up on his own fight, man. You're the primetime fighting. That guy had a way better fight than you, and you're the one everybody came out to see. Like, that's kind of embarrassing, in my opinion.
Most certainly it is. Let's go to some of the information on the article here. It says that according to Joshua's promoter Eddie Hearn, the next fight will come against Wilder or the WBO mandatory challenge Alexander Plotkin. That guy's a double-tongued snake, so don't listen to him. The World Boxing Association recently ordered Joshua to make a mandatory defense against Plotkin, who last month scored that brutal knockout of David Price. Joshua says the showdown with Wilder is the top priority for him. That's balderdash, or what Hearn would say, bullocks. It's bullocks. I want to fight. There's no doubt about it, said Anthony Joshua. I'm going through a situation where to get that fight, I want to become the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. I've got my hands on 4 world titles in 21 fights, and he was very vocal about wanting to fight before I was because my objective was to accumulate every single one of the belts. Now I've done it. Wilder has my 100% attention. Now that sounds different than what he was saying before. I've waited for an offer, so we're about to make an offer to Wilder's team. A very good offer that should create a lot of interest. Hopefully, that should stop a lot of his talking and whining, and he should step up to the plate and take the deal. Let me tell you something, AJ. Maybe you don't know this. Maybe you don't listen to
bullets. What you say?
Bullocks.
Bullets.
Bullocks.
Bullocks. It sounds like BS to me, man.
That's what it is.
A wise person told me, when you're going through stuff like that, the person who was doing all the explaining
there's the one in trouble.
More than likely, their story is full of crap, because
they're full of
everybody
bullets.
knows Wilder wants this fight, because Wilder probably would have fought the fight for free. And he's talking about he'll stop his whining and complaining and accept the offer. This dude don't care what y'all paying. He wants the belts. He finally unified them, so you danced around him
to unify the
belts.
belts.
Get all the other belts come back to him. Yeah, because you were scared to fight him. You didn't want to fight him.
Let's see.
Let me get all these other belts first and get my skills together. Then I'll deal with this guy.
All right. Well, that's something we got to lay.
It sounds like nonsense to me, man.
We got to make
dancing
sure.
around excuses.
We got to make sure now we'll keep close attention on this stuff, because when you have these fight promoters, it's all kind of foolishness, and they have a window to get this fight done the next 30 days. The WBO issued them a statement. They ordering them to get the fight done. If they have to get that mandatory done, the unification done before the 30 days is up. So it gives us a time frame to see what's happening. Let's move on to other boxing news. Triple G, Golovkin, couldn't fight Canelo. Canelo suspended. He's suspended, so he's looking to fight again. Still, that we covered a few people that Golovkin's looking to fight in his next bout, but of course it won't be in USA. It's the fight's been moved to StubHub now, and it's interesting because it was built up to be this big thing. Now, not so much. But now he's looking to fight these other guys, and the question remains: who will Triple G fight? Well, they're looking at Gary O'Sullivan, Spike O'Sullivan, who's a good fighter, 27-2, 19 knockouts. They're looking at him. They're looking at Sergey Dravajenko, 12-0, 10 knockouts. They're looking at Mexican Jamie Munguia. He's 28-0. That'll be a nice fight to think about it. To be honest with you, they got Billy Joe Saunders. They're looking at 26-0 with 12 knockouts. Demetrius Andrade, I like that guy, 25. Yeah, I like him. He could be interesting, but I don't know if they're going to actually take that fight. But he's been calling Triple G out. So
it's a short-term fight, man. Short notice. This is basically a fill-in fight, like when you have an injury at camp and you want to carry on. So they're probably going to pick a guy that's probably not super top tier. I mean, you wouldn't want to fight a top tier fight at short notice.
And that's also they're saying that recently today, matter of fact, Vaniz Metrosinian or whatever his name is, 36-3 and 1 with 20 out knockouts. They're saying he could be a potential component. Now he was a former Olympian, and he's from California, so that might be interesting to see what they're gonna do about that as well. Now, of course, they're moving the fight from Vegas. Now it's gonna be in California in the StubHub Center. Hey, we just have to keep eyes on it. Boy, this was really a big old mess here, to be honest with you. But anyway, there are other fights that we could pay attention to. Maybe now.
All that from bad meat.
From bad meat. So blame the bad meat.
Should have been a vegetarian.
Well, there you go. And it takes pressure. It takes pressure. It kind of moves Triple G's fight out of the mainstream, blurring up everybody's vision. Maybe we could pay attention to somebody that really deserve it. How about Terrance Crawford, everybody? Can we please give Terrance Crawford some love here? I mean, can we please give Terrance Crawford some love, man? Seriously, because with Triple G out the way, let's pay attention to Terrance Crawford. Terrance Crawford's always, he gives you excellent fights. He's a very interesting fighter. He fights orthodox and unorthodox. Right, he's versatile. He's very versatile. Excellent fighter. 32-0, 23 knockouts. Straight out of Omaha, Nebraska. Best thing they made since the best thing since Curly Fries that was also from Omaha.
Curly Fries?
Which is out of Omaha. So there we go. But anyway, so Horn, they're supposed to be fighting Horn here, the next up and coming fight here. I think, when is this fight supposed to be coming? Oh, June the 9th. And in the MGM in Las Vegas, he'll face off against Horn. And Jeff Horn, who is a pretty damn good fighter, 18-0, one decision, 12 knockouts for the Australian. And they'll fight in the MGM Grand in Las Vegas. And Terrance Crawford will defend his belts against young Horn. What's your thinking on this fight? It shouldn't even ask you that. He gonna knock Horn out, man. This guy is just terrific, man. He's lightning in the bottle. Terrific fighter, excellent, worthwhile. He should be the big draw now that Money Mayweather's out the way. Terrance Crawford should be the next boxer that everybody's paying attention to. Is Terrance Crawford. DC, thoughts on this fight?
I mean, you basically answered it for me. What I'm gonna say to follow that up? But anytime this guy fights, man, it's worth watching. So I don't care who he fights. It's a fight worth seeing. He's a very entertaining fighter. Like you said, reminds you of Floyd Mayweather, your Roy Jones, Sugar Ray Leonard, this type of cloth. Very, very entertaining fighter every time he laces him up. So whoever he fights is the fight worth seeing. And he should be the big money guy moving forward. He probably will become the face of boxing at some point.
Very good. Well said, DC. And that's bringing us toward the end of our show. Thank y'all for joining us, for listening to the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys. Appreciate you chiming in and taking the time to listen to us. We thank you for letting us be a part of your day. And if you enjoy the podcast, please feel free to go to www.patreon.com/the PRO Media Network and donate. donate whatever you can, support the platform, help, a few bucks here or there, and help build a platform. Also you can go to our Facebook, Twitter pages, Instagram, YouTube, subscribe for more content, and every other thing, support the sponsor as well. So from me, Big Q, and DC, thank you for joining us on the Sports Coma tonight. Peace.
You're listening to the PRO Media Network, the next level in entertainment.
You're listening to the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys on the PRO Media Network.
At The Posh Lifestyle, I go there for all my health needs. They offer great deals on organics, water filters, healing magnetics, healing crystals, clothing, books, DVDs, vitamins, and a lot more. They even have free shipping when you spend over $100 on most products. With secure online ordering, fast service, and great products, I save some money, and I'm improving my health doing it. It's a win-win. So do what I did. Go to shop.theposhlifestyle.com. That's shop.theposhlifestyle.com. That's shop.theposhlifestyle.com. So upgrade your lifestyle with The Posh Lifestyle and love what you do.